Cliff Richard's life is not simply the story of a successful musician. It is the narrative of a man who chose restraint in a world that rewards excess. From the very beginning, his journey was shaped less by glamour and more by endurance. While many artists rise through spectacle, his path was defined by quiet control, moral conviction, and an unwavering sense of personal boundaries. Fame did not transform him into something larger than life. Instead, it tested the strength of who he already was. Beneath the polished image and steady voice lay years of internal discipline, shaped by hardship and sharpened by experience. His life reflects a rare balance: global recognition paired with deep personal privacy. He did not chase attention, yet it followed him relentlessly. And even when it threatened to consume him, he held firm. This is not a story of effortless success, but of a man who learned early that survival sometimes depends on silence, composure, and the ability to endure without outward complaint. Through decades of shifting cultural tides, public scrutiny, and personal trials, he remained consistent. His legacy, therefore, is not just measured in music, but in the quiet strength that allowed him to withstand a life lived constantly in the spotlight without losing himself. Early hardship and the roots of resilience. Born in 1940 in British India as Harry Roger Webb, his early life carried an undercurrent of tension despite its outward structure. His family lived within the rigid expectations of the time, maintaining decorum even as emotional strain lingered beneath the surface. This fragile balance was shattered in 1948 when India gained independence, forcing his family to relocate to England. What should have been a return home instead became an experience of displacement and hardship. They entered a country still recovering from war, where rationing, cold living conditions, and financial instability defined daily life. In a cramped home without comfort or security, survival became the priority. His father struggled with unemployment, and his mother carried emotional burdens that were rarely spoken aloud. These formative years left a lasting imprint. He learned that dignity often meant enduring silently, that pain could be hidden, and that composure was not optional but necessary. These lessons would later shape his public persona, giving him the ability to withstand pressure without outward collapse. The discipline people admired in him as an adult was not cultivated in luxury, it was forged in scarcity, in a household where emotional restraint and perseverance were essential tools for survival. Discovering music as a lifeline, music entered his life not as a dream of fame, but as a form of escape. In an environment where emotional expression was limited, it became a channel through which he could feel something beyond the constraints of daily hardship. The arrival of American rock and roll was transformative. It brought energy, movement, and a sense of possibility that had been missing from his world. Artists like Elvis Presley and others did more than entertain. They opened a window into a different kind of life. For the young Harry Webb, music became a lifeline, something to hold on to when everything else felt uncertain. He began performing in small, informal settings, youth clubs, church halls, anywhere that allowed him a moment of expression. These early performances were not glamorous, they were exercises in courage. Each time he stepped forward to sing, he was pushing against his own fears and limitations. He borrowed instruments, borrowed space, and at times borrowed confidence. But what he built through these experiences was something lasting. Music gave him a sense of control, a way to shape his own narrative in a life that had often felt dictated by circumstance. It became both refuge and foundation, reinvention, and the birth of Cliff Richard. At 17, he made a decision that would define his future. He reinvented himself as Cliff Richard. This was not merely a stage name, it was a declaration of intent. The name Cliff suggested strength and resilience, while Richard echoed the raw energy of the music that inspired him. It was a form of armor, a way to step into a world that demanded confidence even when he did not feel it. With his band, initially called the Drifters, he recorded Move It in 1958. The song marked a turning point, not just in his career, but in British music history. Its success signaled the arrival of a new sound, one that could stand alongside the American rock and roll that had inspired it. Overnight, he transformed from an unknown teenager into a national sensation. Yet behind the sudden fame was the same disciplined individual shaped by hardship. He approached success with caution, aware that it could be as unstable as it was exhilarating. The persona of Cliff Richard allowed him to navigate this new world, but it did not erase the lessons of his past. Instead, it reinforced them, giving him the strength to endure the pressures that came with his rising fame. The height of fame and the cost of visibility, the years that followed, were marked by extraordinary success. Hit songs, film appearances, and sold-out performances made him one of the most recognizable figures in British entertainment. His music brought joy to millions, and his clean-cut image made him a symbol of reliability in a rapidly changing cultural landscape. Yet fame came with its own set of challenges: the constant attention, the expectations, and the pressure to maintain a flawless public image created a weight that was rarely visible to others. While audiences saw confidence and charm, he experienced the isolating effects of life in the spotlight. Every decision was scrutinized, every action interpreted. The applause was constant, but it did not always translate into personal fulfillment. He learned to separate his public persona from his private self, maintaining a boundary that would become one of his defining traits. This separation allowed him to function in an environment that could easily overwhelm others. However, it also came at a cost. The more he protected himself, the more distant he became from the world around him. Fame elevated him, but it also placed him in a position where genuine connection was increasingly difficult to maintain. Faith, identity, and personal transformation. In the mid-1960s, at the height of his success, he experienced a profound internal shift. Drawn to spiritual reflection, he publicly embraced his Christian faith. This decision was deeply personal, yet it had immediate professional consequences. Fans distanced themselves, and industry support wavered. In a world that often prioritizes image over authenticity, his choice was seen as risky. But for him, it was necessary. He reached a point where the distinction between his public persona and his true self became too great to ignore. Faith offered him a sense of grounding, a way to align his actions with his beliefs. This transformation did not diminish his passion for music, it refined it. His work began to reflect greater depth and introspection, revealing an artist who was evolving beyond the expectations placed upon him. While others might have compromised to maintain popularity, he chose integrity. This decision reinforced his commitment to living on his own terms, even if it meant facing uncertainty. It was a defining moment that demonstrated his willingness to prioritize personal truth over public approval. Decline, reinvention, and artistic survival. The 1970s brought a period of decline that tested his resilience. After years of consistent success, his popularity began to fade. The music industry shifted, and new artists emerged, capturing the attention he once commanded. For the first time, he faced the possibility of becoming irrelevant. This was not just a professional challenge, it was a personal one. Music had always been central to his identity, and its absence created a void that was difficult to ignore. However, instead of retreating, he adapted. He re-examined his approach, experimenting with new sounds and styles. The release of Devil Woman marked a turning point, signaling his ability to evolve and remain relevant. This period demonstrated that his success was not dependent on a single moment or trend. It was built on adaptability and determination. By embracing change rather than resisting it, he he proved that longevity in the industry required more than talent. It required the willingness to grow. His resurgence was not just a comeback, it was a reaffirmation of his place in music. Privacy, relationships, and emotional boundaries throughout his life, he maintained a strong commitment to privacy. In an industry that often thrives on exposure, he chose discretion. His personal relationships were kept out of the public eye, and he resisted the pressure to conform to expectations about his private life. This approach led to speculation, but he addressed it with calm and clarity, refusing to engage in unnecessary explanations. His ability to set boundaries became one of his most defining characteristics. It allowed him to preserve a sense of self in an environment that often erodes individuality. His close relationships were built on trust and mutual respect rather than public validation. This deliberate separation between public and private life was not about secrecy. It was about preservation. He understood that not everything needed to be shared to be meaningful. By protecting his inner world, he maintained a level of stability that many in his position struggle to achieve. It was a choice that required discipline, but it ultimately contributed to his enduring sense of identity. Public controversy and the test of reputation in 2014, his life was disrupted by a highly publicized investigation that brought intense scrutiny and media attention. Despite the absence of formal charges, the situation had a profound impact on his reputation and personal well-being. For nearly 2 years, he lived under a cloud of suspicion, experiencing the emotional toll of public judgment. This period tested his resilience in ways that differed from earlier challenges. It was not about adapting to industry changes or managing fame. It was about enduring a situation that threatened to redefine him in the public eye. Through it all, he maintained his composure, relying on the same discipline that had guided him throughout his life. When the investigation concluded without charges, the damage had already been done. However, he emerged with a renewed sense of purpose, reinforcing his commitment to privacy and personal integrity. This experience highlighted the fragility of reputation and the importance of inner strength in the face of external pressures. Later years, simplicity, reflection, and legacy. In his later years, he has embraced a quieter lifestyle, focusing on health, reflection, and philanthropy. His approach to wealth reflects his broader philosophy: measured, intentional, and free from excess. He values stability over display, choosing comfort and privacy over extravagance. His daily routine emphasizes balance, incorporating physical activity, mindful living, and spiritual reflection. Despite the challenges he has faced, he continues to engage with music, releasing new work and performing for audiences who have grown alongside him. His legacy extends beyond entertainment, encompassing his contributions to charitable causes and his commitment to giving back. Through his foundation, he supports a range of initiatives, reflecting his belief in using success to benefit others. These later years are not defined by decline but by refinement. He has stripped away what is unnecessary, focusing on what truly matters. It is a stage of life marked by clarity and purpose. Conclusion: the enduring power of quiet strength. Cliff Richard's life is a testament to the power of consistency, discipline, and self-respect. In a world that often celebrates excess and visibility, he chose a different path, one defined by restraint and integrity. His journey illustrates that success is not only about achievement, but about the ability to remain true to oneself under pressure. He did not rely on reinvention through spectacle, but on steady evolution rooted in personal values. His story resonates not because it is dramatic, but because it is enduring. It reminds us that strength does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it is found in quiet persistence, in the ability to withstand without breaking. As his life continues to unfold, his legacy remains clear. It is not just about the music he created, but about the way he lived carefully, deliberately, and with unwavering commitment to who he chose to be.